Hello everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in my channel, the Bilingual Wellness Hub, where for the first week we're going to talk about a topic that is really important, our protein. So the idea is that I'm going to talk through a little bit some of the concept as well. What I will do is I will also include in the description as well and the comments I will attach a file that will contain basically everything that I'm saying, my script, almost with a few kind of illustration as well, just to help you get you through it as well. In case you're better off, your style of learning is more like really good document. So we're going to dive into how proteins and amino acids work in your body and why they are so important, and the difference between animal and plant-based protein as well. So if you think about it, a lot of people think that protein, they associate it with building muscles, mostly, right? And whilst that is correct, protein does a lot more than that, right? It plays a key role in maintaining and repairing the body tissues, including your skin, your hair, your nails. It does support a very healthy immune system. It produces hormones and enzymes and contributes to cellular repair. So in short, protein is vital for overall health, not just for those looking to gain muscles, right? Now, let's have a look at how the body digests and uses protein. So it all starts with the digestion. So when we eat the protein, the process begins in the mouth when we chew. Then in the stomach, acids and enzymes, they break the proteins down into smaller chains called peptides. Now those peptides move into the small intestine when they are broken down further into individual amino acids by enzymes from the pancreas. So these amino acids are then absorbed through the intestinal lining and transported through the bloodstream to be used wherever the body needs them for energy, right? So those amino acids are very important. The body does not store amino acids in the same way that it stores carbs or fat, which they need a constant intake of protein in our diet to support a ongoing repair and maintenance. So those amino acids are going to become very important when we look at the profile of protein. So when we look at animal versus plant-based protein, because some of you might not eat animal products for religious or any other kind of concern, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But you need to be aware of the differences because it will impact also how you plan your meals and your diet. So animal proteins like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy are really considered what we call complete proteins, right? Because they contain all of the 9 essential amino acids in the right proportion. So we say that the profile is complete. So they closely match the body needs and are generally easier to digest and absorb. So animal meats are a complete profile amino acid. They have all the body needs, right? Plant proteins, such as the one that we get from whole grains, nuts, seeds, or legumes, they're often incomplete, meaning that they lack one or more essential amino acids. However, if you kind of combine them with a complementary sources like rice or bean, then it's entirely possible to meet the protein needs on a plant-based diet. It just means that you have a little bit more planning to do and a bit of research to ensure that you combine those plant-based protein with the relevant other ingredients that complete basically the profile of the protein. So this is quite important. So it's still possible, but it requires a little bit more management. Some great plant sources that are, for example, soy or quinoa or buckwheat, they are naturally complete. So that's why when you hear about tempeh, when you hear about anything derived from soy, edamame beans, for example, all of this is very much, it's good because it's actually complete and it's a plant-based protein as well. Something to bear in mind when you plan your meals. So beyond digestibility and amino acid profile, the nutrient content also matters, right? So basically animal proteins often come with more nutrients like B12, for example, and iron, Well, plant proteins deliver fiber, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory compounds. So those as well, it's really important to know the differences and how you combine them so that it fits your needs, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone is different, but you have to have that information to make the right choices for you. In recent years, many high protein processed foods have entered the market. It seems to be a very upmarket to go and sell all these high protein food. You can see them everywhere on the labels. Bars, powders, snacks, drinks, they all say like high protein. I would say my advice to you would be that this is our convenience, but they're often ultra processed, right? Which means that they might add sugars, artificial sweeteners, and the quality of the protein might be very low. So the quality of protein is very important. We discussed already the amino acid in the profile. Those profile might be really poor and contain only a couple of amino acids, for example, right? They contain also potentially additives as well. So it's important to read the labels really carefully, to do a bit of research. And I would always say anyway, you should prioritize whole food sources, right? Before you go into any kind of supplement, look at how you can build as much as possible from natural sources, whole grain sources. I personally use the Yuka app, which is really good because actually you can I go to the supermarket with it, I scan the product and it tells me exactly what's in it as well. So I put a link in the comments as well, because that's quite a good way as well to just do a little bit of your research when you're out there in the supermarket, in the shops, etc. Now, if you look at the health outcomes of different protein sources, so a lot of studies, and I'm gonna add as well in the comments links to studies that if you want to go deeper into it as well. But studies have shown that diets rich in plant-based proteins are associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, which is fantastic, right? So you have lower blood pressure and improved cholesterol profiles. So there are a lot of really good benefits of doing that. And replacing even a small proportion of animal protein with plant protein has been linked to better heart health as well. So I always say try to combine as much as possible. Don't get fixated on one source of protein. The diversity is key in anything you do, and protein are the same. However, processed red meats, especially when cured or overcooked, are associated with higher risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes, right? So high quality animal proteins like fish, poultry, eggs, when consumed in moderation, are generally considered to be either neutral or actually beneficial, right? So try to avoid eating red meat too regularly. Anything processed by definition has some consequences that you should be aware of, basically, right? So always, I would say on animal-based protein, the highest quality one are definitely fish, chicken, eggs as well. Those are the best source protein. Eggs, actually talking about eggs, they were once debated due to their cholesterol content. And that's quite interesting. And we're going to go deeper into another week on that because I can do a whole episode on cholesterol, right? Now the study have shown that they are a really nutritious option for most people. So 1 egg per day is not associated with increased cardiovascular risk and may even offer protective benefits thanks to nutrients that they have and the really high quality protein, especially in the white that you have is it. Individuals with diabetes or genetic lipid disorders may need tailored advice. As I always say, anytime that you want to make a decision, you should really check on your own conditions, and before making a decision, you should also work with a professional. So protein-rich diet also supports satiety as well and weight management, which we're going to talk as well a little bit later on, right? So especially when they emphasize whole food sources rather than ultra-processed products. So basically when you're hungry, your body's telling you, I need protein, right? So if you eat the right amount of protein, that you feel full, like a lot quicker than if you are eating other sources of food which are not protein dense. The other thing I wanted to talk about also is the risk of frailty as well and the better physical function. We know that as we get older, one of the problems that we have as male and female is frailty, right? We lose, I think after 50 years old, you lose between 8 and 10% of your muscle mass every 10 years, right? So you can try to fix that actually by increasing the level of protein that you have. And then the frailty, which is something that a lot of other adults are suffering from, you can help out by increasing your level of proteins as well, which we're going to talk about as well. Because one question that I come across a lot is, how much protein do I need? And there's a lot of factors into it. There's not a really quick answer. There is a minimum recommended intake for sedentary adults, so if you don't do too much exercise, is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. That's just enough to avoid deficiency though, right? This is really often too low for optimal health, especially for older adults, as we say, as you lose muscle mass as you get older, after 50 years old. And for active individuals, you definitely need a lot more protein. So for older adults, when you're 65 and over, it's more like 1.2, 1.5 grams per kilogram to prevent muscle loss. Active adults, if you have an active lifestyle, you're looking at 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram per day. If you're doing calorie restriction to preserve a lean mass, you're looking at 2 to 2.4 grams per kilogram, right? Men typically require more absolute protein due to higher lean mass, and tough requirements should also, the requirement should always be adjusted per kilogram as well of body weight. Women, however, have increased needs during pregnancy, postpartum recovery, or menopause. So for women, there is a little bit of a difference here. So just to give you an idea, for a 70 kilo person, you're looking at 56 grams for someone who is sedentary, and more than 105 grams for someone who is healthy and aging, and probably around 150 grams for active or body recomposition. I try to always have about 150 grams of protein per day, just to give you some idea, right? However, quality really matters, right? So I would always advise to focus on complete nutrient-dense protein sources and combine plant foods strategically if you're plant-based. Next topic I want to talk about is, when should you eat those protein, right? So beyond how much protein you eat, when you eat can make a significant difference, especially for maintaining the energy levels, supporting muscle repair, reducing age-related muscle loss, and managing hunger and blood sugar. Most people consume the bulk of their daily protein at dinner, right? While breakfast and lunch are often lower in protein. Studies have suggested that an even distribution of protein across the day, particularly across your 3 main meals, is a lot more effective for stimulating muscle protein synthesis and supporting metabolic health. So here's why that matters, right? The body has a threshold for effective protein using a certain calculation. So typically consuming about 0.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per meal maximize muscle protein synthesis. If you consume more than that, then it doesn't really increase the benefit, and it may result in the excess being just stored, which you don't want to, right? So it's important to just spread it out. Including a high protein breakfast is pretty good. 25 to 40 grams, depending on your body weight, has been shown to reduce appetite hormones. Definitely, talking about myself, when I switched from a carb-based breakfast to a protein-based breakfast, I used to have at 10 o'clock in the morning, you want to have a little snack, you're feeling a little bit hungry mid-morning. Since I've switched to protein, I have a really high protein breakfast in the morning. I'm not hungry until 1 or 2 p.m. Seriously. So that has a difference in satiety as well, and improved glycemic control as well throughout the day. So protein timing around physical activity also matters quite a lot. So consuming protein within 1 or 2 hours post-exercise helps support muscle repair, strength gains, and then recovery for the muscle. For older adults, anabolic resistance, a reduced sensitivity to protein means that a regular, evenly spaced protein intake is even more important, because it helps preserve that mass that we are losing as we get older and functional strength more effectively than uneven intake patterns. So practical guidelines aim to really distribute your daily protein target across breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And for someone aiming for 120 grams a day, that means that you want to have 40 grams per meal as you're calculating, instead of having 15 or 20 grams at breakfast and then 60 or more than at dinner. High protein snacks like kefir, which I'm doing. I will do a session on that one of the week. I love doing my own kefir and it's lovely. Boiled eggs, a handful of mixed seeds can really help maintain intake consistency throughout the day, and you can add that to any of the 3 meals that you want to as well. So super easy. So again, in summary, spacing protein intake consistently throughout the day with emphasis on breakfast, which we'll cover why later on, and post-exercise meals allow for a better muscle maintenance, energy regulation, and appetite control. And typically, why do I say the breakfast is really important? Is because during the night, your body basically breaks down all the protein. It works out, you break down the protein and it uses it. So you wake up in the morning, you're hungry, that means your body is telling you, I've broke down all my protein, I've used them, I need more now. So you need to have protein in the morning. It's super important for the rest of the day. So that's it. We've covered in less than 20 minutes the introduction on protein as well. Next week, what I'd like to do is to build up on this by looking at how to balance your protein intake throughout the day, giving you a little bit of examples of meals as well, and share practical tips, a few recipes as well that I'll be sharing as well, so that you can hit your targets quite easily. If there's any other topic that you want, or something you want me to dig a little bit deeper into, ask a question. Also, if you think that there is someone that could be interested or could be helped by this video, because that's the only reason why I'm doing it, just to help people, do forward that as well. I will also put in the comments some of the great podcasts that I've learned a lot from, and people that you may want to follow and deep dive, a little bit deeper into to get more information as well. If you haven't done so, if you subscribe to the channel, that really helps for you to get all the notification whenever the videos are posted. I really aim to post at the end of every week, but life gets really busy at times, so I might not be able to do that. But thank you very much for your support. I hope that has been useful. I wish you a fantastic week full of protein. Till next time, bye-bye.